Welcome back and welcome to my October wrap up. We've still got this different background, but by the time we get to my November wrap up, we'll be back with the other background again. Please remember, if you enjoy this video, to give it a thumbs up and let me know in the comments below what book you enjoyed most this October. And remember, if you are not already subscribed, please do click that subscribe button. I would love to have you on board. So as usual, I'm going to divide my books into physical books, ebooks and audiobooks. As last month there were a lot of audiobooks, but I've had a few more physical books this month, a few short books, and a few books that I have as physical books that I ended up reading on audiobook, which, as you know if you are a regular follower, often happens. I will download the audiobook and try and sort of get it read whilst doing other things. So let's start with one that I haven't even shown you that I bought yet, and that is a guinea pig Romeo and Juliet. So you can see this gold writing on the cover is quite hard to capture without it being all shimmery. This is just a very cute read, and I have a video all about this one up on my channel coming up. If not next week, then the week after. Then a couple of books which are very, very similar. These two books here. The first one is The Little Book of Luca. I hope I said that correct, which is from the author of The Little Book of Hygge, which is the Danish way of living and sort of making people happier through that Danish way of living as a community. And the Hygge is the Danish way of living, making things cosy and homely, which I have been practicing since the weather has got colder. And then the other book, which is very similar, which is one of these gorgeous kind of small paperback books which has that same shimmer on. I saw this book everywhere on Instagram and Twitter, and people were talking about it, and so I had to order myself a copy. You'll have seen this on my Instagram as well. And this one is Kindness, which is by somebody who has a charity called 52 Lives, and I am going to read more about this charity and find out what's going on with it, because it sounds very interesting. But this is something that I definitely practice in school and need to get better at practicing in my own life. I would really recommend this one if you haven't already read it. And then one which I will expect will be on a lot of people's October wrap-ups, and that is Turtles All the Way Down by John Green. I read this one in one sitting on the day it was released because I didn't have any teaching to do that day. So I read this one. I've already reviewed it on the blog, so I will pop a link below to that review so you can read about my thoughts. And this is the UK version, but I also have a copy of the US version, which my husband found a signed copy of for me, so that is waiting in Denver when I get back to Denver. So if I do make a video about this one, it'll be when I have both versions and I can show you a little comparison as well. Then a book that I got from the library, which you'll remember from my TBR and also my September book haul, and that is The Gender Games by Juno Dawson. I read this one and then immediately downloaded How to Be Gay by Juno Dawson as well, just because I really liked her writing style, and this one was incredibly informative and thought-provoking. The two words were coming together there as one. Informative and thought-provoking. So I'd really recommend this one, and I was really pleased that my library had it. Very excited to find out that they had it. Then the next one, which you'll remember from my book haul as well, is my signed copy of Sleigh Rides and Silver Bells at the Christmas Fair. I keep getting that the wrong way around, and I'm just shimmering all these books because they've got such beautiful covers. This is an incredibly Christmassy read, and I will have a review of this one on my blog very soon, so keep an eye out for that one. I'm not going to put any spoilers about this one in there. It's just Christmassy and warm and lovely. And then another book which I have already reviewed on the blog, so I will be popping a link to that below as well, and that is The Treatment by C.L. Taylor. This one is C.L. Taylor's first YA novel, and this is about a school that children who have been kind of not kicked out of normal school, but they keep getting suspended, and their parents decide to send them to a special sort of reform school, and we find out that perhaps everything at this school and the treatment at this school is not what it seems and is in fact something more sinister. I really enjoyed this one. Again, I raced through this one, pretty much read it all in one sitting, and there is already, as I say, a review of this one on my blog. And then one that I read partly as audiobook and partly as physical book, because I've got a physical copy of it in my hand right now, and I just wanted to show it on camera, so I've got both bits. Basically, the audiobook expired, so I finished reading it in physical book form, and that is Midnight at the Bright Ideas bookstore. Let's give it a shimmer for you. So shiny. And this one is by Matthew Sullivan, and this one surrounds a bookstore which is very like the Tattered Cover bookstore in Denver, and is written by a former Tattered Cover employee, and something basically happens at this bookstore and it leads the bookseller down a whole different bunch of routes to uncover a mystery. Very exciting. And then on to ebooks. Obviously I read all of these on my Kindle, so I don't have the physical copy of them here. First one I read was There's Someone Inside Your House by Stephanie Perkins. I made the mistake of reading this quite late at night whilst I had the window open. I did have to get up and close the window in the middle of the night because I was a little bit scared, because it's a scary YA book. And then the next one I read was another Christmassy read, and that is Joe and Clara's Christmas Countdown, which is exactly what it says on the tin. Lovely Christmassy book about Joe and Clara and the youth club that they work at together in Manchester, and their countdown to Christmas and the ways in which they are kind of counting down and celebrating and becoming friends. And then another one that I read on ebook, less ebooks this month, was Christmas in St Ives by Miranda Dickinson. This is a novella which is a prequel to her novel which is coming out next year, which is called Somewhere Beyond the Sea, and is also set in St Ives, and it means that basically we get to meet the characters, and we get to meet these characters at Christmas time as well and find out the dynamic behind them. And one of my favourite things about this novella is the fact that there is a teacher in this novella, and I like the fact that her job is portrayed so well in the book. So I really enjoyed this one, and I already have a review of this one on my blog too, so I will leave a link below. And then on to audiobooks. I listened to the audiobook of How to Be Champion by Sarah Millican, which I had on ebook as well because I got a copy on NetGalley, but I decided I wanted to download the audiobook, and that is already reviewed on my blog, so I will leave a link in the description below. Then another book I listened to on audio was Ginny Moon by Benjamin Ludwig, and this surrounds a girl who is autistic, and she is in the kind of foster care system, and she's a looked after child, and it's narrated from her point of view, so we get to see how things seem to her, and we also get to find out a little bit about her history and what makes her who she is and how she's going to use that going forward. And then I also listened to Wild Like Me by Louise Pentland. I have a video about that one coming up in the upcoming weeks. It may well be that I end up with some videos from here when I'm back in Denver, just like I had videos from Denver when I was back here, which is always fun. But yes, got a discussion review of that one coming up soon, so keep your eyes peeled for that one. And then I have a physical copy of this one because I'm doing that thing where I listen to the audiobook of physical books that I have, and that is Miss You by Kate Ebelen, and I listened to this one with my mum, so we listened to this one together, and it has been compared to One Day an awful lot, and I would say it is comparable to One Day to some extent. I get that same feeling that I got when I read One Day for the first time, that kind of pacey feeling, because it's dual narrative and it's moving over a long period of time, so we kind of like get to find out what's going on with the characters as their lives progress. But whilst there are some sad bits in this one, I wouldn't say it's quite as sad as One Day, and it goes off in a different direction to what One Day did. So I will leave you with that sort of teaser. And then I listened to the audiobook of Sex Object, which is by, so I've got my computer here, Jessica Valenti, and it's her experience of gender and gender discrimination and what it's like to be a woman. And on a similar note, I listened to Shrill by Lindy West, which the subtitle is Notes from a Loud Woman, and I think that really quite says it all. And I really enjoyed listening to both of those, and that's kind of a reason behind me listening to them sort of back to back, because I wanted to listen to a book about the same sort of issues, and so yeah, I listened to both of those and really enjoyed them. I downloaded both of those from the library as well, so great. And then I listened to the audiobook of Juniper Lemon's Happiness Index. This is a library book copy, because I got this one out of the library and then ended up getting it from the library on audiobook, so I ended up listening to it. I'm a bit divided on this one. I don't know whether I'm going to write a review of it. I've seen a few people sort of say this wasn't quite what they were expecting, or it wasn't quite as good as they were expecting, and then a few people absolutely loved it. It either seems to have got a bit of a reaction, or a oh this is amazing reaction. Nobody seems to hate it, but yeah, I don't know, it was quite different from what I was expecting, and it seemed to kind of end suddenly as well, which was interesting. But yeah, listen to this one on audiobook. And then I have a video coming up on my channel featuring this author, which is Julia Chapman. This is A Date with Malice, which came out on the 19th, and this is the physical copy of, which we have signed. Where is it? It's signed in here. Signed copy of this one, and we listened to the audio of this one, even though we had a physical copy of it, and the audio was done really, really well. The person doing it was very good at accents and very good at kind of like making the story sound exciting, because this is a cozy mystery. There was quite a lot of action going on and quite a lot of things happening, and you can sort of, you know, there's a lot of clues on the cover here, so make sure you pay close attention to the cover. And then the final audiobook that I listened to in its entirety was Mirror Mirror by Cara Delevingne with Rowan Coleman. I knew I wanted to read this one because I'd heard Rowan talking about it, and it's got a bit of a mystery element to it, and I did have a copy on Kindle from NetGalley, but ended up downloading the audiobook, and again, it's a very well done audiobook. The narrator has got the teenage voices down just right. So that is my October wrap up. I read more than I thought I had, and I read more than I thought I was going to, so I exceeded my own expectations. I'm at that point again now where I've read more than my Goodreads target, and I don't know whether to change it or just keep exceeding it and see how much I can read. I don't know, I like having the target there, so let me know in comments as well if you've got any thoughts on my Goodreads target. I would be intrigued to find out your thoughts on that. But also as well, remember, let me know what was your favourite book that you read in the month of October. And if you are not already subscribed, remember, do click that subscribe button so that you get notifications of my new videos. My next video will be my November TBR, so if you want to be notified of that one, then click subscribe. And if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, I would really appreciate it. And yes, I will be back with my November TBR, so I will see you then. Bye!